Hello and welcome back to part 4 of, and the final part of the series Military Memetics tutorial, which is just a 152-page PDF, an academic PDF, about memes, memetics, and the military belief, and ways to measure memes and the effectiveness of them. We are finishing a section called Memetics and True Believers, and then it's going to go into a Malcolm Gladwell section, and then that's kind of the end. There's a couple sections at the end, neuroeconomics and things like that too, wrap it up. So let's just continue here with Memetics and True Believers. If you're new here, this is my vlog. I post whatever I want. Give this video a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. I want to make videos that you want to see, so just let me know what you like or not. I like reading to a camera, so this is part of my book club series. And if you want to watch the other videos, part 1, 2, and 3 are already uploaded to my channel. If this interests you, it's just something to listen to in the background or to play at like 1.5 or 2 speed to get a lot of information. Let me move my mic closer. Okay. Memetics and True Believers. The preaching of all mass movements warns against copying foreign models. The imitation of outsiders is branded as treason. Got it. We read this in the last one. Contempt for the outside world is actually the most effective defense against disruptive imitation. Every device is used to cut off the faithful from interaction with unbelievers. So we tend to exaggerate the effectiveness of persuasion as a means of inculcating opinion. We falsely attribute propaganda the startling success of mass movements. Propaganda on its own can't force its way into unwilling minds, neither can it inculcate something new, nor can it keep people persuaded once they have ceased to believe. Propaganda penetrates only into minds already open, articulating and justifying opinions already present in the minds of its hearers. So where opinion is not coerced, people can be made to believe only in what they already know. So propaganda is only effective really for minds that are open to it and already have similar ideas. Propaganda by itself succeeds mainly with the frustrated. So even skillful propaganda cannot keep people persuaded once they have ceased to believe. Force must then be used for mass movement to maintain itself. Propaganda becomes more fervent and inopportune when it operates in conjunction with coercion than when it has to rely solely on its own effectiveness. Importunate, I mean. Propaganda works best with coercion. Propaganda serves more to justify ourselves than to convince others. The proselytizing terrorist must reinforce the conviction that his faith is the only true one, or he'll himself start to feel like a criminal. The more blood the terrorist sheds, the more he needs to believe in his principles as absolute. Only the absolute will absolve him in his own eyes. The practice of terror serves the true believer not only to cow and crush his opponents, but to invigorate and intensify his own faith. Okay, that makes sense. Where a mass movement can either persuade or coerce, it usually chooses coercion. Force can stop and crush even the most vigorous mass movement, but to do so, the force must be ruthless and persistent. Ruthless and persistent force can only come from fanatical conviction. The violence needed to counter a mass movement must spring from a spiritual base to avoid being wavering and uncertain. Fanaticism is needed to counter fanaticism. The proselytizing fanatic strengthens. Proselytizing means like going about trying to convert others to your belief. The proselytizing fanatic strengthens his own faith by converting others. The creed whose legitimacy is most easily challenged is likely to develop the strongest proselytizing impulse. The leader cannot create the conditions which make the rise of a mass movement possible. He cannot conjure a movement out of the void. There has to be intense dissatisfaction and an eagerness to follow before the movement and the leader can make their appearance. Once the stage is set, the presence of an outstanding leader is indispensable. Without the leader, there would be no movement. The need It needs the iron will, daring, and vision of an exceptional leader to concert and mobilize existing attitudes and impulses into the collective drive of a mass movement and kindle the vision of a breathtaking future. The quality of ideas seems to play a minor role in mass movement leadership. What counts is the arrogant gesture, the complete disregard of the opinions of others, the single-handed defiance of the world. Charlatanism of some degree is indispensable to effective mass movement leadership. There can be no mass movement without some deliberate misrepresentation of facts. What does Siri say charlatanism is? Computer, what is charlatanism? Computer, what is charlatanism?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Computer, define charlatan. Computer, define charlatan.
Charlatan is usually defined as a person who pretends or claims to have more knowledge or skill than he or she possesses. Quack.
Oh, that's it? Being a quack of some degree is indispensable to effective mass movement leadership. There can be no mass movement without some deliberate misrepresentation. The true believer, no matter how lawless and violent his acts, is basically an obedient and submissive person. The literati and intellectuals often set the stage for the fanatics. There is a moment before he formulates a philosophy in a program when the articulate finder of fault may be won over by a deferential or conciliatory gesture from those in power. A mass movement is pioneered by articulate intellectuals, materialized by fanatics, and consolidated by leaders of action. Usually different people, men or women, play these roles in succession as conditions require. A mass movement is pioneered by articulate intellectuals, materialized by fanatics, and consolidated by leaders of action. The leader of action saves the movement from the suicidal dissensions and recklessness of the fanatics, marking the end of the dynamic phase of the movement. The leader of action fixes and perpetuates the mass movement's unity and readiness for self-sacrifice, relying mainly on drill and coercion, but preserving as a facade the earlier enthusiasm of faith. At the end of its vigorous span, the mass movement is an instrument of power for the successful and an opiate for the frustrated. Memetics and the Tipping Point. The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It's how ideas, products, messages, and behavior spread like viruses. The moment when everything changes all at once. Contagious behavior, like viral marketing, small number of people in small number of situations start behaving differently, and that behavior spreads and changes the behaviors of others in similar situations. Example, trends in fashion or crime or music, fads. Small changes can have big effects. A few % change in initial conditions can lead to non-linear outcomes. Like a single match with limited energy can start a forest fire. Changes can occur quickly and not gradually, like epidemics or punctuated equilibrium in evolution. People are conditioned for linearity and gradualness, not exponential or geometric progression, but social change can be sudden as the phase change of rain to snow. The 95/5 rule, a more extreme version of the 80/20 rule, 5% of people cause 95% of new ideas to spread. Stickiness in messages sticks in memory and has impact. Simple changes in presentation or structuring of information can make big difference in impact. For example, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. It takes a licking and keeps on ticking, good to the last drop. Okay. 3 rules of the tipping point. The law of few. Few people can cause large effects. The stickiness factor. The message stays in memory. The power of context. Impact on behavior depends on context. The law of the few. Starting an information epidemic requires concentrating resources on a few key areas. Success of social epidemic heavily depends on involvement of 3 types of people: connectors, gregarious and known by many, active in many different social and professional niches and subcultures. Mavens, experts, socially motivated to share information. And salesmen, persuaders, articulate and inherently good at convincing others after rapidly obtaining their trust and support. Mavens generate the message, connectors spread it, and salesmen persuade the unconvinced to heed the message. Salesmen. Stickiness. Message should be made practical and personal. Information should be packaged in a simple way to make it irresistible. Context. Behavior is a function of social context. Little things matter. When interpreting the behavior of others, when people overestimate the importance of fundamental character traits and underestimate the importance of situation and context. Humans are more attuned to personal cues than contextual cues. Groups have a critical role in social epidemics. Context. Situation and context gets underestimated. To bring about a fundamental change in people's belief and behavior, a change that would persist and serve as an example to others, a community must be created around the beliefs. For groups to serve as incubators of messages, they should be kept below 150 members, the maximum size for informal person-to-person contact and cohesive group loyalty. Larger groups spontaneously become divided and alienated. To create one contiguous movement, first create many small movements. 150 people, that's all you need. You could create social change by creating a group of under 150 and having cohesion. Rumor, most contagious of all social messages. Kernel of truth in rumor is distorted in 3 directions. Level story leaves out details that are essential for the truth. Sharpen story makes the remaining details more specific. Assimilate story, changing the story so it makes sense to those spreading the rumor. For example, rumors of 9/11. Mavens, connectors, and salesmen make an idea contagious by dropping extraneous details and exaggerating other details, so that the message acquires a deeper meaning and is better understood by the intended recipients. That makes sense. Suicide is contagious. Trigger warning. In Micronesia, suicide amongst young males went from near zero to highest rate in the world. Triggered by minor incidents, suicide rituals became embedded in local culture, an important form of self-expression, imitated by younger and younger boys. In the U.S., newspaper stories of suicides temporarily increase suicide rates in local or national coverage area. Influence of peers is more important than parents in shaping personality and intelligence. Wow. People can transform behavior or beliefs with the right impetus. Seemingly intransigent, implacable people can be tipped with the slightest push in the right direction at the right time. Social change is volatile and often inexplicable because people are naturally volatile and inexplicable. Intransigent? Computer define intransigent?
As an adjective, intransigent is usually defined as refusing to agree or compromise, uncompromising, inflexible.
Oh, even people who are inflexible can change. It needs the right impetus. Neuroeconomics and Mimetics. What is neuroeconomics? It's the study of how the brain interacts with the external environment to make choices. Example, choices among competing alternatives, like which skincare to use, or strategic choices with other individuals, like what to do with friends to achieve goals, choices under uncertainty. Combines neuroscience, economics, and psychology. It examines the role of the brain in evaluating decisions and categorizing risk and reward, and focuses on high-level concepts of personal choice and decision and how these are represented in neurons and biochemistry. Great. This seems like a great study. Oh, God. Okay. Neuroeconomics, more definitions. Great. It's an interdisciplinary research program with the goal of building a biological model of decision-making in economic environments. Great. Neuroeconomics is a subset of economics that focuses on personal choices and decisions and mental change that correlate with the choice and may cause them. Neuroeconomics is a subset of psychology that focuses on thought about choices, especially the cognition for understanding and choosing options. I would add in a marketplace. Experimental focus includes studies of game theory, risk, attention and awareness, learning, behavior, and methodologies include MRI and genetic profiling, pharmacological manipulation, psychophysiology, behavior measures, psychology testing and blood chemistry, hormone analysis, single neuron recording. So just different ways you can measure states of the body and the mind. New field of neuromarketing investigates product branding, preference, personal purchase decisions, and the techniques of neuroscience. So experiments confirm that emotions are an important factor in many choices. Memetics research can leverage research in neuroeconomics. Intelligent machines can far exceed biological intelligence in memetic behavior. Oh. Information or entropy, large to small, almost functionally equivalent. Propagation, global dispersion and mind-to-mind at speed of light with very high accuracy. Impact, behavioral responses can be immediate for the individual or collective, persistent. Indefinite duration of transmission and memory with very high accuracy. Yeah, computers, they far exceed biological yeah, that makes sense. They supplement biological intelligence for us. Potential national security users. Central Intelligence Agency. Oh, these are like different national agencies or units or users that could use information in this document. CIA, Army Civil Affairs, PSYOP Command, Naval Network Warfare Command, Air Force PSYOPs Command, Joint Forces, Military. What does MILDEC stand for again? Military Decision or Joint Forces Information Operations, Defense Intelligence, Public Affairs, Recruitment Training. These are all people that could potential national security users. Tools and techniques. These are different tools and techniques. I guess, to approach memes. Surveys, interviews, info theory, genetic algorithms, modeling and simulations, network modeling, rumor modeling, rumor propagation dynamics and networks, modeling theory of the mind with decision theoretic agents like psychological simulations, agent-based simulation of a geopolitical conflict. You could use neuroeconomics tools like neuroimaging or genetic profiling or psychopharmacological manipulation or psychophysiology. You could do behavioral measures or psychology testing. You could take a blood chemistry analysis, or you could just record a single neuron even. For example, fMRI scans have revealed that political disparities are located in brain areas and mirror neurons reflecting social cues and behavior of others and related to the empathy and autism. Like, we learned about mirror neurons thanks to neuroscience and neuroeconomics, you could say. And that's the end. It's just this picture of this guy. Wait. You can't really see it because... Can you see? You can't. It's just like this crazy picture. Oh, it's funny. I can't. It's because I cropped this a certain way, but there's like, I don't even know. I think it might be Al Gore pasted onto Indiana Jones, or maybe it's the guy who wrote this. pasted himself. Anyway, that's the end of the document. I wonder if there's any other videos of this document online. I should probably go back to video 1 now to remember other stuff they said, but it's interesting. This video was the shortest, but the last one was so long that my bad. I could have stopped earlier in the last one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and let me know what you think about it, and if you have any like questions, or if you want to see me read something similar. I thought this was a good document to read, and it definitely made me think about memes in a more critical way, because they're being used, like the concept of memes and just cultural transmission units is being used by government agencies, and the government is funding research about this kind of stuff, so that things we encounter online may or may not be planted by certain agencies, or different ideas might become spread for political purposes, or for security purposes, or for other purposes of the government or government agencies, particularly ones that work in military, and probably it's also being used by businesses, big businesses, I'm sure, too. So it's good to read this kind of stuff. I think. Thanks for watching, and yep, that's it. See you guys whatever next video I make.